Go.
Yeah, I think Margarita, when you came in, we were doing Gentle Warrior and those were the two songs that we were working on, weren't they? So given the impossible Seamless Shirt and that.
Yeah.
And so that was your kind of first introduction to all this proggy stuff, really.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was really great.
But I think you know the what's interesting is the kind of influence you've had on the band, especially in the new stuff that we're doing, where there's a lot of folk influence that you've had from that's been put in the band, and think, you know, tracks that you've written, and again we maybe changed the chords, progged them up, but there's been a sort of a melody there it's quite solid. So it's been good.
I was just going to ask. I definitely want to talk about that new album, but just a few more things on some of the albums from the past. I don't know if you probably get it from some of the references on my reviews, but I'm definitely a Peter Gabriel era Genesis fan. And Industry kind of reminded me of Get 'Em Out by Friday, only this time the UK's corporate structures are the target. You guys all have 9-to-5s, and has anything changed for you during the pandemic? Do any of you now work from home, and is there more freedom than what you described in Industry? Has anything changed?
Well, for me, I mean, Industry was not so much about industry, but it was about education and about how the process of, you know, what you have to do in education is just becoming increasingly statistics and quality control and all of this managerialism that's been kind of superimposed over the whole thing. So that was really my thinking behind that. I used to work. I wasn't an academic, but I've worked, you know, in higher education in the UK for about 35 years, and I took early retirement from that during the pandemic, because I felt that I'd kind of done what I needed to do and was leaving things in a good order. It just seemed the time was right to do that. But that's actually where, you know, this all this is about acronyms and, you know, all these things which seem superimposed and actually kind of, for me, getting in the way of you know, education and creativity and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's probably the most political song that certainly that I've written for the band.
I think there's in terms of technology, I mean, I work in the satellite industry, so satellite communications. So and in my role, you know, the engineering is, again, it's becoming less important. What's important is how you present it and how you know, in terms of a marketing function. And it's not what I enjoy doing. I prefer. I mean, I'm a director, so I have to do the marketing bit as well. But I fundamentally want to get back and do some real engineering. And actually, the pandemic's been terrible from that perspective, because, you know, it used to be one of these things where you go out to the sites to travel, you go out to a launch site, wherever it is. That's not happening anymore. So, you know, everything is remote hands now. So that has had it's from a enjoyment point of view, it's not as enjoyable. In terms of, you know, how well company does, it's actually done very well even during the pandemic. So yeah, I can't complain about that.
Anyone else?
So I work in education program delivery, and I'm now online, so everything's done online, and I really like it, actually. I'm a bit of a homebody myself, so I quite like being at home and just getting on with stuff, and I think I work better that way. So for me, it's been good, but I know that a lot of people miss that contact with going into the office. So it is nice to have that occasionally, but yeah, for now it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I was not really well. I was going to say not really bothered by the pandemic. I'm massively bothered by it, actually, because of the things it's done to my family and the things it's done to the world and the things it's done to gigs and the things that we now can't do that we used to do, and the interruption and all of that has played havoc with my perception of what life is, I suppose.
Yeah.
But from a work point of view, I believe it or not, set crossword puzzles. That's what I do. In England, there's this great craze still now, a great craze for crosswords. So I set for some of the big daily newspapers cryptic puzzles. I don't know, just love all of that. But I was doing it at home anyway. I gave up working out. Used to do other things. I used to be in advertising, stuff like that. I gave up doing all that ages ago. And, by the time the pandemic came along, I was already working at home. So it hasn't really made an awful lot of difference to me from that perspective. But, it's weird. You can't even be rebellious and say, I'm going out. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going out. Because when you go out, nobody else will be there for you to play with because they're all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know what I mean? Even if you were, I don't know how many gatherings in the woods there were with rebellious people, but I certainly wasn't there, unfortunately. Otherwise, I've been writing a song about it. So that's that, But it's wrecked everything. It really has. I don't know whether we needed a kick up the rear end for gig attendance. Audiences now like us are thinking how precious it is to have this, just to have a gathering, like-minded souls coming together for a just to rock out, basically. And how important that is, how important it is for our society, how important it is for our particular bit of society, and how happy it makes you, and how enthusiastic it makes you to do albums and stuff. You're a musician, so huge issues. Huge issues. But we're all, a lot of us have had some pretty dire things happen, but we are still here, and we are doing that next album.
Yeah, I when I was I have a lot of people who have said to me, oh, it's the worst year of my life, this COVID, and the last 2 years have been dreadful. Unfortunately, I lost my son 3 years ago, and you just think, and you think no, there's nothing that comes close to that. And with something like COVID, and I think my father who's 99, who was 99, sorry, he died last year, but he would have he lived through the war and everything, and I'm sure he would have said, do you know something, you guys, you've got your home comforts, you've got everything that you need. We didn't have that. We didn't have that in the war. We were rationed. You couldn't get food. You couldn't get any of the. It was uncomfortable. And
don't
so
know if your roof is going to come in on you. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, I think I do think back and think, actually, was it so bad? I know obviously people lost people, but
yeah, son, that's tough. That is very, and I give you my condolences. That's nobody wants that.
So I did write a song about it, but and we did actually. I did sort of do it with the Farm Meadow, and we did perform it on one of the gigs that we did. But I don't know. I'm sort of thinking at the moment that it's probably something that I would like to do. Probably a personal thing. It was unnecessary at the time, I think, and it was a way of getting my emotions out, I think. So, yeah.
Yes.
Anyone else? Yeah. Love the song Mud. I had this cute little intro. Tell us about all things dirty. Yeah, no, but it has nothing to do with that. The darkness pushed aside, offended by creation, declared war on our lives, and in our hearts sought to reside. Help me to escape this rotten garden. Let's talk.
Elliot.
Those are not my words.
was,
Okay. Okay, so our previous singer, Knock, that we referred to, so Jim Knock, he wrote those words, and it was great. I mean, we just came from, I think in his mind it was more of it was an anti-creation song, I think, if anything, but it was, I don't know. I don't really know. I have to say, Jim had some very strange ideas and very very pertinent ideas as well. And I don't know, maybe Paul, you might have more insight on where he was going with that song, but
against the general idea we have of what life is.
Yeah.
Jim Knott didn't believe in things we take for granted. He didn't believe in money, for example.
No.
Thought that was a completely odious and an unnecessary creation of beyond its movement out of bartering, as a token and representing a barter that you hadn't yet made, and you could wait until something you wanted came onto the market, such as it was back in whenever, hundreds and even thousands of years ago. The ideas about society, the way we do things, the way we travel, the fuel we use, all those things. A lot of stuff that kind of relates to what's it called? There's a series of videos, Margarita, I'm talking about the I forgot what it is now, but there's a whole series of videos about a real turnaround in the way we live and the real the zeitgeist, the very thing. Yeah, I think I've got a feeling, I can't actually say this because I don't know, and I would be doing Knock a disservice if I got it wrong, but I've got a feeling he's into that, a real different way of living, and his whole idea of the fools get mentioned in Mud. There are some fools in there who are the people that run
the world.
That run the world. And it might be getting a bit controversial to some of the things he believes. I don't know again, but essentially it's the Rotten Garden was a little series of songs, wasn't it, Elliot, that were done years ago before I joined the band.
Yeah.
And Mud is one of them, and it's because it's like kind of a real sort of, it's about as close to metal as we get, I suppose.
In terms of the song, I think if you remember, I think the Rotting Garden, the bit before it is very kind of waiting roomish. If you took Genesis, the waiting room, it's kind of got just a whole just a horrible sort of sound, almost like the sound of hell. I think was the idea, but it generated this sort of a cathedral-y type, that the organ line is supposed to be, I guess as Paul said, a bit metally, that whole song, except for the middle bit.
Yeah, the middle bit. That's what makes it so nice, though. You see, because it breaks up this dirge. It's a real and then you've got this sweet, if I may say, fantastic keyboard solo in the middle, which is different rhythm, breaks it up nicely.
But we got to, I mean, at the end of that song again, those chords are very sort of Danger Money, UK Danger Money. There's a kind of a sequence at the end that is all kind of very discordant and deliberately discordant, because again it's almost like everything's descending into the mud again. So that was the sort of idea behind it. Yeah.
Let's because I think we could talk about your past for a long time, and it's a magnificent past. But let's switch channels, and I want to talk about the new album. And I'm hoping, we talked about Margarita, but I also want to talk about you, Elliot, the keyboards, are probably, if any, I don't play any instruments, but if I ever did, it would probably be keyboards, because those are the things to me that make prog what it is. But hopefully you're going to put some more pipe organ in, because those pipe organ type sounds in some of your past songs are excellent. But tell us a little bit more about it. You said, I think you said you have 5 songs. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing is, I think there's been, because of the past, a lot of the songs have naturally come from some more of my influence. But I think what's happened certainly over the course of Foreign Land, and now very much so into the new album, there's a lot more of sort of Margarita's ideas, Keith's, Paul's, Dennis. You know, those ideas are all coming in. So there's still a central. I mean, I think, for example, we just Margarita had a song called "Shining Star" in London Town, which will be one of the new tracks, and it's almost sounded very folky when we started, and it still is. And we've tried to keep that, some of that, for the verses and the choruses, that some of that is still kept. But again, we've added some nice instrumental sections, and I don't know, it's just come out. I think there are there any pipe organ bits? I can't think of anything. Possibly on King Dice, I think.
What, organ?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there's a lot of Hammondy type
Hammond.
stuff, but yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I'm thinking about pipe organ and the kind of church organ thing. I don't think there's. I'm trying to think if there's any songs that we've done where there's a bit of that. Oh yeah, in King Dice, I think there's a bit more of that. So
excellent.
So
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you want to say more about the songs, Paul, Margarita? It's probably. But
And by the way,
Margarita is responsible for the main.
I was just going to say, by the way, I'm not ignoring anyone else, because without a bassist, without a drummer, you can't have a band. You need that rhythm, you need that support of the bass. So you guys are absolutely just as important. But there's something about the keyboards that just. But anyway, that's it.
Yeah,
Enough about me.
I mean, I think we write. I mean, certainly Keith is, when I write something on the keyboard, I'm always thinking bass, and in fact, Keith gets quite upset sometimes. I just sort of I'm almost playing bass and at times, and that's my own problem. I've got to get out of that. But the bass is very important to me. You know, bands like Yes, for example, to me, without the bass, they wouldn't.
Forget it.
They wouldn't be the band. They wouldn't be the band. And it's those kind of bass notes played with the chords that actually make the difference to me. So I'm always thinking bass anyway. So.
And Squire's voice to sort of offset the very high Anderson. But yeah, definitely the bass. Yeah, you don't. The Fish and some of those things, they're not as big without him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a real loss. That's a real loss to the music business, I think.
I actually met him and Alan White. Alan White had a John Lennon tribute in the Seattle area, and actually got to stand next to the two of them, take a picture with them, and joke with them a little bit. And
wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wow, just like this. I couldn't say anything. Like, here I teach on a regular basis. I talk all the time, and around those two guys, I was like,
what can I say?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go back to the album.
Oh, I was just saying that I can't hear you, Elliot, for some reason, but I don't think you're muted. You've gone.
Oh, you've gone.
Well, I still see him.
Huh?
It's still there, but we can't hear him.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, we can see him, but we
Okay.
can't hear him. He's that's not what normally happens with Elliot.
Has he gone to a different input or something? He hasn't got his his MIDI programmer on the floor. He hasn't picked the right switch.
I think
So,
we're having one of those Spinal Tap moments now.
Yes.
we're very used to these. It's okay though. Anyway, I was saying that. Well, what Elliot was saying.
That's better.
There you go. Yeah, you're back. You're back. You're back.
I just pressed. I pressed the mute button on the headphone by mistake. So right.
So we got that first song that Elliot was referring to is comes from a folky song by Margarita.
Yeah, that's a song that I wrote years and years ago, like maybe 6 years ago, before I joined the Farm Meadow, when I was just doing open mics. Yeah, so it was really nice to be able to bring it into the Farm Meadow and get their input and just make it sound really amazing, really. I'm really excited about it.
We made the mistake of taking the acoustic guitar out of the song, which was probably not a very good idea, since that was the song. It was just acoustic guitar and vocals when it was born. So we put the acoustic guitar back into the demo, and it's really swinging along. It sounds amazing, actually. It sounds fantastic. It's so good to have a bit like that in the stuff we do. Can be, as you were saying, it can have a lot of keyboards in it. It's really fantastic when you use the keyboards with the acoustic guitar, and we've got this the verse sections in that song are just fantastic now. Really good.
It's interesting.
It sounds amazing.
It was
I was just saying, what I was getting around to saying is that there are a lot of band influences. Different people in the band are having influences on this new album. In terms of who's writing what, and we're all writing the music, and different people seem to be writing lyrics. It's good. It's good. I don't know. It just feels like a really massive opportunity. This one got some really, really, really great stuff to lay on the audience at the appropriate time. It's just, it's a bit frustrating, and it's exciting at the same time, because we need our Brazilian person back to work these things through and make sure that we might even take, how it is, you might take out a section or put another one in. That's what usually happens.
Or enhance it.
Well, yeah, or bend it slightly. So it is exciting. It's exciting, and this blessed Omicron variant has come at the wrong time. I don't particularly want to hear. I don't think anyone else want to hear that there could be further delays, and we don't want another spanner in the works, really, especially where it means bringing the band back together again. We don't want that to be put off course, if at all possible. But
well, there's a briefing. There's a briefing tonight, isn't there? Unfortunately, the UK briefing. So they're talking about stepping up the controls, shall we say? But I don't think I think it's down to wearing masks in venues and things. But it just makes it more difficult. Just makes it more difficult to play. I was going to say, Paul, one of the things that's come about actually is that you talked about that acoustic section, and then so we kind of took the keyboards out, and then we said, well, no, it still needs some piano in there, and then we ended up with that kind of do it like Emerson would. If you remember,
he claims I said that.
Yeah, you did. Well, those chords now are very much
burnt into your genes, mate.
Possibly.
Yeah, no, that was good though. You're absolutely right. And I remember we were kind of in we were in this rehearsal room, really, really thrashing this section out, because there's just something not happening, and it just needed. It just needed what Elliot ended up doing, and it really, really brought the whole thing to life. The acoustic guitar was already in there, really flourishing and making this lovely swing, and then Elliot just did something that got it. I mean, who knows? We could change it again.
And when Dennis comes back, it will probably change again.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, he's going to have to play the guitar on that. So
what are you guys looking for a release date? I mean, it sounds like there's still some work to do, but
Yeah.
your spring, summer, or beyond that.
Say beyond.
It depends what happens with Dennis, mainly.
Okay.
We get him back sooner, then the better.
I think the other angle is that we'd like to be able to play these songs live, or at least, you know, a good number of them. We got the Fusion Festival coming up in March, where it would be nice to break, you know, a couple of the songs at least, to be able to do something there. And of course, at the moment, trying to get gigs is a little bit difficult, because so many gigs have been deferred from, I mean, Prog the Forest and Danfest were deferred gigs. You know, they couldn't run during, you know, the lockdowns and everything. So the windows of opportunity are quite narrow for new events. But, you know, we are trying to sort of, you know, we will be looking out as soon as Dennis is back. You know, we'll be rehearsing the stuff and getting a new show together, really. And once we've aired the songs a few times, you know, that will inform the recordings that, I mean, we're making recordings at the moment, but it, you know, as Paul said, we will develop them, and I think see what works and, you know, what isn't happening, and refine the songs. So we don't really want to sort of commit to release dates, because I don't, you know, if we set a deadline, we won't make it.
Definitely, that's one surefire way not to make a deadline.
But it's not for want of actually, you know, we are working on the stuff, and we really want to make it happen. So
I think, as you say, Keith, I think it's more the fact that we would want to release those songs, or try and play those songs at these festivals, and then you know, almost introduce them, get our own understanding of whether what works and what doesn't. I mean, I don't think we've ever put tracks on down and recording unless we've played them live in some shape or form. I don't, you know, I find it, I personally, I mean, the guys know, I find it really clinical process to record, and I know it's really necessary, and it's you have to have the discipline, but I find I've probably got indiscipline actually, and I do find I prefer just, you know, playing something out, jamming with the guys. It's a bit like Margarita said, that, you know, she actually likes working at home and things, and I find I need people around me. I prefer I sort of, and it's true with work actually, that I tend to bounce off others. So Paul will play something, or Keith will play something, or Mikey will sing something, and it will just, yeah, just give me put it, just send it to another level, you know.
Sure. Any chance of you guys coming to the United States? I know that's probably a wide open question, because you've got to, you know, get some shows on the road there first. But any festivals talking to you yet? I hope over here
In the States, no, not yet.
and I know that's a logistical nightmare too. But
Well, yeah.
We did. I think it's worth saying we did have a gig planned just before lockdown. We were supposed to go to Athens in Greece, and
In the Greece, Athens, yeah.
in March.
not the REM Athens.
That's all right.
Georgia.
Yeah, not Athens, Georgia, no. But and you know, and even that was a logistical nightmare. Even if COVID hadn't struck, you know, there was all sorts of things about how to. I can't take the keyboards out. You know, I've got Nord, so I had to patch the sounds, rent a Nord. It does get quite difficult when you have to go abroad. I think wherever it is, but
we just ring up members of IQ and try and find out what they know.
What they do, yeah.
Which is a lot.
Believe it or not, I could sit here and talk to you guys all day, because it's a very stimulating discussion for sure. Is there any, but we are running out of time. It's about to do that interruption again. is there anything else that you wanted to say that we really haven't talked about? We've covered a lot of ground, but it's been wonderful just to have all of you together and talk. But anything else that we haven't mentioned that you'd like to? I just don't want to miss anything.
I think it's really nice to the questions you've asked. It's actually nice to have an opportunity to sort of hopefully offer some insights into our processes and you know how we work as a band. And it's not often, we don't often get the opportunity to do that. I don't think it's and I think it's good for us to kind of reflect on these questions sometimes, because we're so involved in the music, we don't stand back and actually sort of think about the process and how it's working. And so thank you very much for asking these questions, because I think it's been really helpful to us.
Well, I've got to answer that, because I started this whole process. I've been doing just the reviews and haven't really done the interviews. And then I did the first one. I was like, you know, this is wonderful. Because I obviously don't play music, but I do love music, buy a lot of it. And to get that insight from you guys, and I try, and I know I'm talking a lot now, but I try to stay in the background and let you guys talk. And it's been wonderful to sit and just watch that process. And from a fan's perspective, I hope other people that are, if they do watch us, I'm not expecting thousands, but I hope they enjoy it, you know, to actually hear you guys talking about this stuff. And yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's great.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much.
Well, yeah, definitely thank all of you, really, on behalf of the ProgressiveRockCentral.com. Thank you, the Farm Meadow. I definitely am looking forward to your new album. I absolutely want to review it. Thanks for all of you guys taking the time. I mean, I know your lives are busy. You've already talked about the work you do outside and within the band. So thank you very much. And I hope you're reunited with your guitarist, and you guys are set for a good 2022, I hope.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Very kind, mate.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the record. Anything else anyone wants to say? Otherwise, I'm gonna stop the recording.
We'll just say to everyone listening, you know, thanks for listening in, and you know, hope to meet up sometime soon when all of this nonsense has cleared up and we can, you know, get back to it. But I think, you know, one thing is, you know, what I was saying earlier in the interview. So I've got slightly sort of emotional about the gathering of people together at a gig. I just think it's something that we cannot afford to lose. It's too important. That's it. Just being together in the love for music. That's it.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm gonna stop the recording just so it doesn't cut us off, and then we can all talk for a little bit. Hold on just a second here.